Hello, hello, guys. All right, so I'm just going to wait for a second for you guys to jump on and see that I'm here. I'm also going to share this over into another group. So that'll give me a second to do that and you guys a second to jump on. And slowly but surely here. Hopefully our internet will work. Two of us in our household are doing workshops tonight, so uh, hopefully we'll both have enough internet for this. All right. Here is this. Let's see if we can. I've forgotten how to start a. I was going to try and share this over to the essential oils group, but every time I do this, it gets confusing. Let's give it a chance. Okay. Nope. All right. As y'all jump on, tell me hi. Let me know who is joining me. There we go. All right. Hi, guys. So give me a shout when you can see me and tell me that you're here. Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Et voila. Okay. So, the screen is never exactly as I would like it. All right. I think I'm all settled. So tonight, guys, hey, Sabrina. Awesome. You're going to love this one. Tonight, we are going to talk specifically about balancing your hormones and emotions. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that this is one that all of us can use. I did not realize that I had a hormone imbalance for years, about 4 years before it became a huge issue for me. And so I want to help you guys kind of, if you have any of these symptoms of hormones that we talk about, nip it in the bud before that hormone imbalance gets really crazy out of whack and makes you as sick as I was. I do not want that for you. I want to help you to discover what issues you may have quickly, to deal with those issues, to take some simple steps in order to rebalance your hormones so that you're not having to do the gigantic changes or take as much medication in order to balance them in the long run. So we'll be starting first with hormones and then we'll end up with emotions because they are inextricably connected. And so we really do have to talk about both of them at the same time. So to give you guys a little bit of my story, my background behind the hormone issue. So when I was a kid, and you guys who have done all these workshops with me, you've heard this before, but that's okay. It's always good to remind you kind of where I come from so you know you're not alone, right? But when I was a kid, I had a lot of health issues. I had digestive issues, but I didn't realize it until later. I was sick all of the time. I weighed a lot more than my friends, even though I ate the same thing as everybody else. And so when I got to college and I kind of realized, hey, I'm an adult. I should take care of my own health and stop listening to people who tell me that the only thing that's wrong with me is I don't exercise enough, right? I need to take this into my own hands and listen to my gut literally. And so I did a lot of work around food. And that has always been very important to me, how our diet affects our health. I'm super passionate about that. But the second part of my journey was where the hormone piece comes in, the impact that birth control had on my body, that and years of stress, how that impacted me and how that was a whole other separate issue that just different foods would not fix. So what I learned through this entire journey was ultimately your health is your own responsibility. We don't get to put it off on doctors. We don't get to put it off on friends or adults or other people. It really means that, sorry, I'm getting a message. Uh-oh. 2 secs. Okay, somebody needs to be let in. Beep boop. So basically, you're ultimately responsible for your own health. It's super important that you realize this, that no amount of going to a doctor is going to heal you unless you are firm in your belief that it is really important for you to heal, that there are ways that you can heal. And if you literally do not stop until that healing process is done. So you are your best advocate and you need to be your advocate. That's my soapbox. I'm super passionate about this topic, as you can already tell. So I want you guys throughout this, I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that I think are going to speak to you specifically. Maybe not all of this speaks to you, but some of it will. And I want you to leave a comment when that particular thing speaks to you, right? Because I'm going to, at the end, address some of your specific questions. All right, so first, we're going to talk about balancing hormones and emotions, but because they're connected, we got to do both. We're going to start with the hormone piece. We're going to start with the hormone piece because it is complicated, because you need to be able to understand that before we go to our emotions. Because a lot of times when I do coaching calls with people, they think that they have an emotional issue, and it turns out that they haven't addressed some underlying health issues, which are actually causing some of that emotional distress. And you don't want to be emotionally distressed unnecessarily when you could just fix that, right? By fixing your body. So, what are hormones? Good question, right? Hormones are substances that are produced by a certain set of glands in the body. These glands make up the endocrine system. So your endocrine system is the system that has all of the glands that make all of the hormones. These 9 glands are the hypothalamus, the parathyroid, the pancreas, the thyroid, the pituitary, pineal, thymus, adrenal, and then the ovaries and the testes. So 9 for men, 9 for women, right? These produce the hormones that are created within this endocrine system. Some examples are cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, adrenaline, testosterone, insulin, thyroxine, which is the active thyroid hormone, melatonin, epinephrine, vitamin D, which, yes, is a hormone. And that's just to name some of them. So there is a giant list of hormones with a giant list of all of the things that they do. I actually have that list. It's too much to go through here. You won't be able to hear it and remember it. So if you're on the ivy+light email list, you will be getting that list in your inbox within the next week. If you are not on the email list, then I need you to message me or put your email below, because that list is going to go out next week. So the way that you know whether or not you are part of that list is if you got an email for tonight, right? So the email that went out around 5 o'clock, if you got that email, you're on the list, you're good to go. If you didn't get that email, you want to make sure that I get your email address so that you get it. Hey, May, yay, glad you could make it. We're just getting started. So I will send you that entire list, but the main ones that you've heard of, right? I'll say them again: cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, adrenaline, testosterone, insulin, thyroxine, melatonin, epinephrine, vitamin D, right? So here's a list of some of the things that these hormones control. All right, I'm going to read them. I want you to think about which of these speaks to you. Growth and aging, body temperature, metabolism, brain function, energy, joint lubrication, sleep and wake cycle, periods, muscle strength, hair growth, nerve condition, sex drive, digestion of carbs, proteins, and fats, and stress response. Now, raise your hand if you are kind of amazed that our hormones do all of those things. I think that we know that our hormones affect our energy and our metabolism, right? We know about periods, we know about sleep and wake cycle, but that's a lot. I'm going to read it one more time, and I want you guys to shout out in the comments which ones speak to you most. So, growth and aging, body temperature, metabolism, brain function, energy, joint lubrication, sleep and wake cycle, periods, muscle strength, hair growth, nerve condition, sex drive, digestion of carbs, proteins, and fats, and stress response. All right, so y'all put down below which one speaks to you. I'll tell you which ones spoke to me when I had a hormone imbalance. And Sabrina, yes, vitamin D is considered a hormone now. So for me, it was body temperature. I learned a lot about the way that your thyroid helps regulate your body temperature, and the body temperature is a way to know about your thyroid condition. Metabolism, that's directly related to your thyroid. Okay, energy, I was so low energy, it was crazy. Sleep and wake cycles, my periods. As soon as I got off of the um, period medication, what do you call that? Birth control. It took until this year. So that would be 6 years for my periods to get back into the correct rhythm. That's crazy. Hair growth. A lot of y'all who have been with me since the beginning, y'all know that I lost this part of my eyebrows and my hair was thinning here. And, you know, all of this is important, but like the way that you look is important to all of us. It's the face that you project to the world, like when you go out and you live your life. So those sorts of things were actually some of the biggest indicators to me that like something was really wrong and I needed to deal with it. And my digestion was already bad, but I didn't know which one that was from. And then stress response, and we're going to get into that. So I had a good bit of these ones in this list. You may have none of them, and congratulations, right? But you may have a different set of them. Energy, joints, sleep, muscles, hair, stress response. Yeah, so you're like me. You've got a different set of these things from the smorgasbord, right? And so part of my journey, health journey, was complicated because I was taking birth control, which has its own ramifications that are separate but also linked to the thyroid issue, right? So as we'll talk about in a bit, your endocrine system is all connected. If you play with one, it's going to have a domino effect on the rest of them. That's scary on the negative side, right? If you take birth control, it is going to affect the rest of your hormones. But the good news is if you improve balance within your hormones, then guess what? You're going to have a positive domino effect on all of the rest of them. So that is a great thing. That's why healing at a natural level is actually a very simple thing, because if you heal one part of your body, you take pressure off of another, and that allows your body to heal naturally, right? And all at one time. You don't have to wait to fix each problem individually. It all kind of rises. Sabrina, you're saying sleep and wake cycles. Yes, we're going to talk about that a little bit today, and then we're going to deep dive into that in the next workshop. But it is hugely important to this whole thing. So here are the symptoms of hormone imbalance, right? I've told you what it controls. Here are the symptoms: exhaustion, weight gain, poor digestion, fatigue, muscle and joint pain, hair loss, memory loss. That's another one I had. That was terrifying. Depression, painful periods, insulin resistance, insomnia, mood swings, feeling like crap, right? If anything from that list resonated with you, here's the thing. If you feel bad, there is something wrong. You're not supposed to feel bad. It's just a lie to tell people that I'm so sorry, but you have to feel bad for the rest of your life. I don't believe that. I believe no matter whether or not you will have a diagnosis for the rest of your life, there is a way to improve the way that you feel. And a lot of this has to do with the hormone balance. It has to do with just boosting our general energy by getting this endocrine system working better for us, right? So I want to save you guys the time and the effort and the money that I put into figuring all of this out. It took me 6 years for this piece of my journey, the hormone piece of my journey, to figure out what was going on, to get a diagnosis, to work with 3 different doctors, to finally find one that knew more than I did, that was able to help me and that I could trust, and to get me onto medicine, to get me off of medicine, and all of that stuff. And all of that process is really stressful too, right? And so stress is not helpful when you're dealing with hormones. It just makes it worse. So I want to take some of that stress off you. I want to reduce some of the time and some of the energy and some of the money that you have to spend trying a whole bunch of different things, some of which will work and some won't. And I just want to share with you what worked for me so that you can see if these same tools will work for you in your life to make you feel healthier, more energized, and to remove some of those symptoms that we just talked about. So If something on that list speaks to you, you probably have a hormone imbalance. For you, this may mean it's just a nuisance right now. You don't sleep quite as well as you'd like to. Your sleep rhythm is off a little bit, right? Or you wish that your hair was thicker and longer, or you feel kind of achy joints, right? Some of that isn't might not be such a big deal right this second, but left alone, hormone issues compound and then they create more issues, and that negative domino effect happens. You may already have this. You may have a specific significant physical illness that you're dealing with, like I was dealing with hypothyroid. And whether you're there or not, here's the good news. A lot of these answers still apply to you, no matter whether you're just thinking, I'm pretty healthy, but I can improve, and some of this speaks to me, so let's work on that. Or if you're thinking, I've been diagnosed with a very specific thing and I don't know what to do next, then some of these natural methods, simple methods, will help you to help your body to heal. So as we dive into this, I want to, of course, before I give you suggestions based on my own personal life, remind you I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I'm a life coach, right? So I help people with their life and wellness goals to get you from point A to point Z, right? And I have a lot of research behind what I'm talking about, and I have personal life experience, but I do not diagnose or treat diseases. I don't share with you medications that you should be taking or anything that's going to magically heal you. What I do is I help you understand natural methods and natural tools that you can use that are going to support your body in its healing of itself, because our bodies are naturally created with the ability to heal, or else you wouldn't be here, right? There are plenty of things your body is healed from already. We're just going to support our body so it can heal from this particular issue. All right. So here's the thing about hormones that you need to understand. Your body can only do 100% effort. There's no way that your body can do more than what it can do, right? So 100% effort. And if your body is having trouble producing one of these hormones, so it needs to put more energy into producing that hormone, guess what? It has to put less energy into something else. This means that you're messing with the balance of all of your body systems. So, as an example from my own personal experience, if your body is having trouble, okay, with a certain thing, if your body's overproducing the stress hormone, for instance, right, and this happened with me, your body then produces a different type of thyroid hormone. It's called reverse T3. And this reverse T3 fits into the same spot as your regular thyroid hormone would, but it gives opposite instructions. It says, hey, craziness is happening. We're super stressed out. We don't know what the deal is. I think this might be a life and death situation. So I'm going to need you to stop metabolizing. I'm going to need you to store fat. I'm going to need you to shut down all non-essential functions so that we can survive through this scary situation, right? So having stress, which puts pressure on your stress hormones, scoots over to what type of hormone your thyroid is producing, scoots over to your metabolism. And literally that's why for many people who have thyroid issues, you just start packing on weight no matter what you're eating, because your body is reacting in this chain that says, oh no, reserve, reserve, reserve. Don't metabolize. We're going to need this later because something scary is happening. So my personal story and how you can kind of get an example of how stress is involved in all of this. So I was diagnosed with hypothyroid, and I would go to the doctor and she would keep asking me, so are you stressed? And I would, no, I'm not stressed. The next time I would go, she would ask me all these questions. Okay, and are you stressed? No. Okay, the next time, and are you stressed? No. And I got so tired of answering her, and I got tired of us bumping up my meds 4-5 times, giving me higher doses. I finally was like, maybe my doctor is onto something. Maybe she knows more than I do, and maybe stress is a factor, right? And she would also tell me that she thought that it had something to do with adrenal fatigue, and I didn't understand that either at the time. And so I went and I dove deep on my own research to figure out, okay, well, how does stress affect the thyroid? Why does she keep asking me this? And then I had to do some personal digging. I'm like, am I stressed? And guess what? She was right about both things, about the stress and the adrenal fatigue. So here's what was going on for me. You're going to have a totally different story. Some of this may map and some of this may not. But if you're stressed, it comes from something that's happening in your life, right? So in the middle of this, I was in a failing marriage. I worked a job that I hated. I worked 60 hours a week at different times throughout the day and night, so no regular sleep rhythm. I hadn't had a creative outlet since I left college. I got a degree in flute performance and music performance, but I had not done anything with that since I left college. So I was creatively unhappy. I would make money, and then my ex would spend it faster than I could make it. So there was money stress. Everyone at work just saw this face that I put on, this happiness, calm, patient, nice Southern charm. But really, I was holding back from them and from myself the fact that I was stressed out. Every single day, my body was having to deal with anger, frustration, lack of purpose, depression, all of these feelings inside, which I thought if I didn't show to the world, didn't count as stress, right? And so I was resistant to telling my doctor that I was stressed, to admitting to myself and to her that I was stressed, because I thought, well, look, my life is already screwed up. If I admit that I can't deal, then I have nothing. Now I'm really a train wreck. So I have to keep pretending that I can deal with it all. Because if I say that I can't, now what do I have, right? All I had was that ability to push through. And so pride goes before a fall, right? It was my pride that kept me from being able to admit that. But also sticking your head in the sand and not admitting that you have a problem that you actually have, that also goes before a fall. You have to be willing to admit what your starting line is. If you have a goal of feeling better, you have to be willing to say, here's where I am. You can't make a plan if you don't know where you are on the map, right? And so a big pivotal point for me was when I found Alan, because I was able to talk to him as someone who's a good listener. If you know him, you know that's so true. He's such a good listener. He let me say what was going on. I was able to really tell him how I felt, how frustrated I was, how lost I was, how tired I was of being sick, how tired I was of all of this craziness. And he allowed me to say that, not feel like I was crazy, and to tell me that it was possible to make a change. So that was a huge part of the healing process, just being able to say to someone, this is not okay, and I need help fixing it. So if you're in that spot in your life where you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired, or you're sick and tired of being stuck, right, on whatever it is, when you're ready to say, okay, I'm going to take responsibility for this, I want it to improve, and I'm willing to look at all of the things I need to look at to make it better, I am here for you. You can come to me, all right, and you can talk to me about it. I promise I have no room for judging you. So I am here just to be a support for you. And also, I wish nothing more than to help you get better sooner. So I would love to be your cheering section on this road to health. Nothing would make me feel more honored or more happy. So it could be for you a supportive partner, right? That's amazing. But it could also be for you a friend. It could be for you a wellness coach. And that's why I do that, because I know that not all of us have someone who can handle a physical health thing. My entire life, people were not able to handle my issues. So just like going to a doctor, I think going to someone who can help you to set goals is a really powerful thing to help you move forward. So as we go through this tonight, I want you to leave comments on whatever speaks to you, okay? And then at the end, I'll come back and I'll answer any questions that you have to the best of my ability. And if it's something that I don't know the answers to, guess what? I'll find out for you. So there are 4 things, okay, that you can do to start to rebalance your hormones and to regain your true health. These 4 things are 4 S's because I like alliteration. They are stress, sleep, sustenance, and support. I did a workshop that's similar to this one several years ago, and I tried to cover all 4 in one night, and it is too much. It's too much for my voice, and it's too much for you guys to take in. So we're going to talk about stress and sleep in our next workshop. We're going to do a deep dive into reducing stress, okay, and improving sleep, and that's going to be 2 weeks from now. So make sure that you get that on your calendar. I'll remind you of the date at the end. And also, if you're watching this in the replay, say on YouTube, make sure that you're in the Ivy and Light group so that you'll be here for that one. Okay, so you've got stress and sleep, which we'll cover next week, and then sustenance and support. And that's the two that we're going to dive into tonight. If you've been watching all my Foundations of Health workshops that we've been doing, we did a whole bunch on digestion, right? If you haven't watched the digestion workshop, you'll want to go back to that because I go into a lot of it. But right now, I want to talk about kind of the part of sustenance, the part of digestion, the part of your diet and food and all of that good stuff that really like majorly impacts hormones. All right. That is inflammation. So inflammation, as you guys already know, is linked to autoimmune diseases, diabetes, fibrocystic breast cancer, pelvic inflammatory disorder, and many other things. Inflammation is huge in underlying chronic health concerns that people have. And your adrenals are part of that fight. Your adrenals are there to help reduce inflammation, to help balance that inflammation response. So if they are overwhelmed, they can't do their other hormone functions. They can't do the rest of their job. And guess what that includes? Making cortisol, which regulates your sleep and wake cycles. So Sabrina, that's for you. Cortisol in your adrenals is regulating those sleep and wake cycles. And if you have too much inflammation going on, that's going to impact your ability to regulate those hormones, which is going to keep you from sleeping well at night, right? Cortisol, you literally cannot live without. If you do not have cortisol, if your body stops making it for some reason, and it's not injected into you, you will die. That's how important this is. You have to be able to sleep, or else the body can't function, right? The other things that your adrenals do, generate energy from non-carb foods. So we don't want to have to get all of our energy from carbohydrates, right? But our adrenals are what is helping us take that energy from non-carb foods. Then regulating your blood pressure, that's key. Making adrenaline, norepinephrine, and dopamine to help you respond to stress. This is your primitive stress response, the fight or flight response, right? The running away from scary beast reaction, which is something that comes from our history, right? The whole caveman running from the dinosaur thing. But today, even though we don't have that sort of stress anymore, most of us, our body still reacts in that primitive way. So if you have too much inflammation, or actually, if you have too much stress, and this is what we'll talk about next week, where it's just constant stress hitting your adrenals and having to produce all of those stress hormones, then that is going to have a chain reaction, okay, on the rest of your hormones. So how can we take the pressure off, the inflammation pressure off of your adrenals to stop that part of the domino effect? So there are 3 more S's for some more alliteration: sugar, soy, and saturated fat. Sugar, sugar, sugar. I talk about this all the time. Sugar produces inflammation. It makes your blood sugar go up and down. It makes your body overproduce insulin, right? If you think that you have a hormone imbalance based on all the things that we've talked about tonight, you need to reduce your sugar intake. Now, you can try to go cold turkey, but you can also just move to natural sugars like honey and berries. Even just shifting over to where you're eating a bowl of fruit in the evening instead of ice cream has a huge impact on your inflammation response within the body, right? So another way to cut out sugars and all these other things that weigh down our body is to do the 21-day detox that Alan and I do. And I'm working on right now a course for that. So that's coming. But if you're not going to do a whole detox, just cutting out sugar is a huge, huge help here. The second thing, soy. If you have a hormone imbalance, please, please, please do not eat soy. And love to all of the vegans and the vegetarians who need those protein sources, but soy is really a troubled protein source for all of us because it acts like estrogen in the body. So it's screwing with your estrogen levels. It creates inflammation. It blocks your thyroid function. This is where I first understood the issue with soy. Blocking your thyroid function, reducing your ability to take in iodine, which is related to your thyroid function. So we're not just talking about the plant, okay? the soy plant, eating that in your food, it's also in a ton of processed foods. So getting that out of your system is going to help with this whole hormone imbalance. You don't need extra forms of estrogen in your body screwing things up, right? Okay, the third one, saturated fat. Now, surprise, I'm not telling you not to eat saturated fat. That's the opposite of what I'm telling you. These fats are actually good for you. So while you don't want to gorge yourself on red meat, right? Fish is a healthier form of saturated fat. You don't have to eat a ton of red meat, but what you need to understand is that the real problem is safflower, sunflower, corn, soy oil, all of these, smaller fats, these non-saturated fats, monounsaturated fats, all these things that are on the shelf at the grocery store, making you think that they're better for you. Those actually increase your inflammation. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but the larger fat molecules, these saturated fat molecules, they're actually not what is damaging your blood vessels or causing plaque. It's actually these smaller, unsaturated, meaning all of the pieces of the chemical are not taken up. So all of the, I think it's the hydrogen bonds. There's not something plugged into every spot. So they break apart more easily. When they break apart more easily, they end up damaging your blood vessels. So I guess I did end up explaining it. But anyways, I could go into more detail on that. But you want to avoid these alternative fats, and you want to use things like coconut oil, like olive oil, like eating avocados, right? You want to put the good, healthy fats into your body. Your body needs that for the building blocks of hormones and of cells and of tissues and all of that good stuff. All right. So that is our piece on how you can just change some of your eating habits that will directly affect inflammation and thereby your hormones. 3 things: sugar, soy, and changing up the fats that you're eating can make a huge difference in your hormones. And that's not even something that costs you more money, right? You still have to eat, so it doesn't necessarily take more time. All right, so that's 3 quick ways. Now we're going to talk about support, that 4th S. So you may feel like watching this video, especially if you are already dealing with a diagnosed issue, hormone issue. You may feel like, okay, this is stressing me out. Just hearing all these things, that my hormones do in my body and how they're all connected. It feels like a lot for me. And I agree with you that you can't try to do everything at once. You can't try to tackle all of your health issues at once. You just need to pick 1 or 2 things to start. And that's why support is really important, because there are things that you can just add to your daily routine that are very simple, that are not going to be very hard for you to do. And those are the kinds of things that you can get in there, and then it makes a big difference very quickly. So you guys who already know about my journey, you know that essential oils was huge for me. I found the most support with essential oils partly because my digestion was so screwed up at this point that even taking the thyroid medicine, I wasn't always digesting and absorbing the same amount of the thyroid medicine. So its effects were up and down for me. And even a supplement, if I want to take a natural supplement, right, you have to have your digestion for that. So when I found essential oils, I was able to get that directly into my bloodstream and bypass the digestive system. And voila, now it's getting into my cells and it's getting into those glands and it's affecting my body and supporting it and allowing it to heal itself. So essential oils on the one hand, which I'll give you a few recommendations in a second. Also, the one pill that I did take was a probiotic. All right. I'm the probiotic queen, right? I think everyone should be taking one because your gut health is so important. You need to be able to absorb those nutrients. And your probiotic is your first line of defense in having a healthy gut so that you can absorb all those nutrients, so that you can take in the supplements or the medication that you might be on, or just all of those building blocks of your hormones. All right, so the essential oils for support that I personally use, all of this is based on my journey, right? So I'm telling you guys exactly what I did in order to support my body healing from my hormone issues. So Endoflex, that is actually how I found out about Young Living, because I went on to Facebook and I typed into a group, guys, I've tried everything that I can think of Googling natural health in your thyroid. I've tried it all. I cannot figure out why I can't kick this, why I can't fix it, right? I don't care how weird it is. If you have something that has helped you, tell me. And so a lovely lady named Dawn reached out to me, messaged me, and explained to me that while essential oils are not healing your body, they're not medication, they do support you so that your body can do its natural functions, right? And so she shared that Indoflex had been helpful for her with her own personal hormone issues. And I was like, okay, sign me up. Where do I get it? How do I get it? I need it today. And I started using it every day. And so I want to share with you the oils that are in the Indoflex blend and why it's so powerful, no matter what your hormone issue is. This is for the entire endocrine system, hence the name Indoflex, right? So spearmint supports your thyroid. Sage supports the female hormone production, as well as adrenal and pituitary function. Geranium supports your adrenals. Myrtle supports the ovaries and thyroid. German chamomile also supports female hormone balance. Nutmeg supports the adrenals and the nervous system. All right. So how I used Indoflex was that I would do a drop of oil on each foot, okay, in the morning before I put my socks on. And you have different pressure points, or what they call Vitaflex points, on your foot. And I would rub it into specifically under my big toe, because that is the Vitaflex point for your thyroid. So if you have a different hormone issue, you would want to figure out which point that was and use and do the massage on that different point. But I put it on the bottom of both feet and then put my socks on. And then I did that in the evening as well. And if I ever got that like weird ache in my throat, which I still get sometimes, like if I get overstressed and I feel it starting to happen, I would just take the Indoflex and just do a drop in my hand and just rub it all over my neck. So those of you guys who have thyroid issues, you probably can tell, right? If when you're doing better or not doing better, you start to get swollen here. So if you feel any discomfort or swelling, you can also do it directly onto your thyroid. But it gets into your bloodstream and it helps support all of the hormones. And as we just talked about, they all are connected, right? So my personal story is that I started using Indoflex, and within 2 months, I can't remember the exact day, I have it written down somewhere, but within 2 months of using it, I had run out of my other thyroid medication, and it took about a week and a half to come in, and by the time it came in, I looked at Alan and I said, I think I feel okay. Should I go back on the medication? Or so I just never took it. And then when we moved 5 years later, I poured it all down the toilet. So I never recommend to anyone to cold turkey quit anything, right? Especially without a medical practitioner. But I just knew my body enough that I was feeling okay. I was feeling functional. And I thought, let me give it another week, and then another week, and then another week. And I was feeling better and better and better than I had when I was on this medication. And I was on a weird medication by the end. So Sabrina, yes, I use it every day without fail, twice a day at the beginning, on my feet, morning and evening. Okay. I still use it almost every day, although probably like a couple times a week I forget. I also have another thyroid blend that I created myself when we were traveling one time, that I kind of use like as a way to switch it out, but I don't feel the effects as much as I do with Indoflex. So it's one of my oils that I'm never without. Some other oils that I also used that I recommend for not just thyroid, but for overall, but peppermint oil helps you digest food. So it's great for digestion, which is important for all of this, and supports metabolism. But if you're hyperthyroid, too much thyroid hormone, you don't want to take peppermint because you're not trying to boost your metabolism, okay? Then clove is anti-inflammatory, and it helps with gut and immune health. So a clove, and is also great for your lower chakras or for your adrenals and all of that stuff down there. So it's great support for those. You could add just the single oil of clove if you wanted. If your particular hormone issues do tend more towards the estrogen, progesterone, right, the sex hormones, then clary sage and thyme help you balance your femoral hormones. So those are two different ones you can use. I specifically used clary sage when I was trying to get my cycle, like to get back on plan instead of being every 3 weeks, which is nuts, not fair. Another thing that you can use is Progessence Plus, which is actually a serum that has a whole bunch of oils, including frankincense, clove, peppermint, etc., and wild yam, which is a natural form of progesterone. Okay. I didn't use this because by the time I found out about this as an option, I had already worked my way back into a pretty normal rhythm. But I do know several people personally that have used Progessence Plus, and it was really helpful for them with their periods, with that hormone balance there, and also with like the symptoms associated with period issues. So it just really supports your overall female hormones. And then, so even though I haven't tried it specifically, with my clients, we have used that and it has worked well. And then for men, sandalwood and Idaho blue spruce for the male issue, right? So you've either got clary sage and thyme, or sandalwood and Idaho blue spruce. And clary sage you don't want to take when you're pregnant, because it actually is something you would take near the end of pregnancy, because it helps to induce labor. So you don't want that, obviously, if you're in early pregnancy. So that's the one thing that you do want to be careful with. If you are pregnant and you're using essential oils, I have a whole bunch of reference material for you on that. So definitely reach out to me if that's you. Sabrina, did I take peppermint and clove internally or topically? Back then, I used to put peppermint in my water in the morning to help start my digestion. Clove, sometimes in hot tea, although, clove is like a really powerful, right, taste. So generally, I would add it to other oils that I was putting onto like my stomach area. It's a spicy oil, so you don't want to put it neat. But let's say if you're putting lemon around my liver, and then I'm using digize, something like that, I might add clove to that with a carrier oil and do it topically. But usually these days, I do it sublingually under my tongue, which is actually topical as well. It just goes right into your blood vessels, right under your tongue, and absorbs very quickly. Also, swishing around in your mouth with clove is fantastic for oral health. So I use it more in those ways, but it just also has these other benefits of anti-inflammation and gut health. All right, so that was a whole bunch on hormones. Guys, if you have specific questions, leave them in the comments. If you have questions that you're not super comfortable writing in the comments, but you want to ask me, just message me at the end of this, and I'm happy to talk through it with you. But that's a lot of information. The good thing, though, about hormones is you don't have to understand every single bit of it. You don't even have to be as much of a nerd as I am. You just understand that they all affect each other, and what are some ways you can support them, and start doing those ways, because your body is smart. And if given the right amount of support, it will take care of itself. It will get back to that homeostasis, to that balance. So now we're going to turn to the emotions, talk about the emotion piece. To an extent, hormones and emotions are kind of a chicken and an egg scenario. What if we could work backwards from our emotions and therefore put less stress on the hormones, and then that would help us to balance our hormones, right? That makes sense. If I'm feeling less negative emotions and less stress, then I'm putting less pressure on my hormones, and therefore they're not out of balance as much. So I actually spent an entire month over in the Onward and Upward, my group coaching group, and we did an entire month on healing and balancing your emotions. So if you're in that group, remind me, and I will tag you back in that month where we did it. It was like June last year or a couple years ago. If you're not in that group, that's a $5 a month group. It's stupid cheap because I just want everyone to be able to enjoy all the benefits of the education that I want to share with you guys. So I have a giant archive of years worth of information and different monthly focuses that we've done. And that was a super deep dive into emotions. So I will leave a link if you're interested in learning more about that. But we're going to just go through some basics tonight. So let's talk about the power of inhalation. You guys know that You can use essential oils in several ways. You can use them topically. You can ingest them as long as they are FDA certified to be ingested due to purity. And you can also inhale them. And inhaling is a classic method, right? The old gratitude blend here. Drop in the palm. I like to do 3 twists to get the molecules moving. Cup it over your nose and breathe deep. In fact, if you have an oil nearby, grab your favorite oil and do that right now. Okay, you can also diffuse, right? Use a diffuser and breathe in the oil that way. But do you understand how that works and why it's so important? I'm going to go through some details for you. So this is clinical-ish, so I'm going to read it. Essential oil particles, when you breathe them in, are quickly picked up by the hairs in your nostrils, the cilia, and are absorbed into the mucus lining from where the aroma reaches the smell center, which is the olfactory bulb inside the brain. The olfactory center converts the aroma into a neural code, which is then relayed across the emotion center, your limbic system. Y'all have heard me talk about that. And further to the short-term memory center, the hippocampus, and then the long-term memory center, the hypothalamus. Okay. The information is then passed to the master gland, the pituitary gland, and other endocrine glands to secrete those feel-good hormones and to restore hormonal balance, right? So you've heard hypothalamus and pituitary, right, which are involved in your hormones. Okay, so let's put it simply. You breathe in through your nose. It goes to your smell center, from there to your emotion center, from there to your short-term memory center, and from there to your long-term memory center, to your master gland, and then to your endocrine system. So in this way, the brain is establishing a strong connection between certain smells and emotions and memories, and then it responds in a predictable way to those things. So for instance, grandma's apple pie. You smell that smell and you're taken back, you're transported to being 5 years old and smelling that baking in her kitchen. Or how about Valentine's roses? You smell roses and it reminds you of love and romance. Or how about the new baby smell, right? Or the new car smell, both two good things, right? So your memories, your emotions are so tightly tied to your sense of smell that when you're breathing in these essential oils, you're powerfully adjusting your emotions. All right. So the way that I generally use essential oils, a lot of times it has to do with relieving stress, or it has to do with lifting mood, or it has to do with focusing my brain. But this breathe in method, this inhalation method is fantastic for that stress response, fantastic for lifting depression, fantastic for supporting response to anxiety. Okay, so the way that I usually do it is what I call a power trio. And if you did our wellness and self-care challenge a couple months ago, you saw the whole explanation on this, but I'll give you a link for the blog post that explains it all. But essentially, it is crystals, affirmations, and oils. So rose quartz, for example, right? Okay, so I will take a crystal, pair it with an essential oil, and then create an affirmation to go with it. And that's actually allowing you to heal with all of your 5 senses, with that powerful inhalation, that powerful smell from the essential oil. Also your taste, because taste and smell are related, or even just dropping a little bit of an oil underneath your tongue, right, where you're definitely going to taste it. That's also topical use. All right. Then you have seeing a gorgeous crystal. You have touching a crystal, holding it in your hand, right? And then you have the sound of repeating this affirmation to yourself. So the example that I use in our masculine meditation workshop that we did in that challenge was rose quartz with sage and this affirmation. I'm filled with love and peace, flowing along like a healing stream. I'm filled with love and peace, flowing along like a healing stream. So you can do an entire meditation this way, or you can just breathe in that sage oil, diffuse it, or have it in your hands holding the rose quartz, right? And experiencing those both at the same time, or putting some sage on your temples or your third eye, and holding the rose quartz on your heart and repeating the affirmation. I am filled with love and peace, flowing along like a healing stream. I am filled with love and peace, flowing along like a healing stream. Because this is how you want to feel, when you speak that into the world, when you have the crystals and the oils to help all of your five senses, you're reinforcing that belief, you're reinforcing that story, you're reinforcing that reality for yourself, right? So that reality and the vibrations of the affirmations, the vibrations of the essential oil, the vibrations of the crystal are all working together to help adjust that emotion. So Young Living actually has a feelings kit that is specifically for healing and balancing emotions, for releasing negative emotions and healing your emotions from being weighed down by all that negative energy. And I would love to do a workshop on that someday. But they're basically all of these specific blends can help you through that emotional healing process. And then you can pair them with healing crystals like rhodonite, like labradorite, rose quartz, pink and black tourmaline, smoky quartz, so that you are releasing emotions that no longer serve and replacing them with positive emotions, positive beliefs, right? So I usually pair this sort of an emotional releasing ceremony with a releasing affirmation that goes something like this. I release whatever it is that's bothering me, right? I release XYZ, which no longer serves me in a positive and productive manner. And then you follow it up with something you're going to replace it with. I choose, I believe, and I manifest. So I release fear of failure, which no longer serves me in a positive and productive manner. I choose to focus on the next step to success. I choose to focus on the next step to success. I believe in this next step to success. I believe in this next step to success. I manifest the next step to success. I manifest the next step to success. So you're releasing the emotion that's no longer serving you. Maybe it served you at some point. It was protecting you from something, but it no longer serves you in a positive or productive manner, and reinforcing it with something else, giving you another option, something that you can get behind. It's not, I replace fear of failure and I choose success. That's a big leap, right? Choose something that you can speak with passion and with belief. You can work your way into fully believing in that positive thing, right? So that's just a few simple ways to work with your emotions first, breathing in the oil, using the power trio of the essential oil, the crystal, and an affirmation, doing a releasing ceremony, letting go of things that are bringing negative energy and kind of invigorating negative emotions, right? So that will help you with the emotional piece, help you to relieve that stress so that you're putting less weight onto the hormone piece of this. So an overview of all of this that we've talked about, and reminder, we're going to talk specifically about stress and sleep later because those are two important pieces. But overview of what we've talked about today. You do not have to feel like crap, okay? You don't have to feel like crap on a physical level or an emotional level. And you actually do have huge influence over both. I'm going to say that again. You have huge influence over both. You get to choose what you eat. You get to choose what natural tools you use. You get to choose what affirmations you say, the thoughts that you remind yourself of, how you use your five senses, right? Those are things that you can influence, even though you may have a diagnosis that feels scary. There are so many things that you can do to influence that process of healing. So I was able to heal because I stopped putting my head in the sand. I stopped relying on doctors to just magically fix me, right? I took health into my own hands. I realized it was ultimately my responsibility, that working with a doctor is important and fantastic if you have the right doctor who is with you on that journey, but you can't shift all your responsibility to them. You still have control over all the things you do throughout the day that can help you or hinder you on that healing journey. So I just used all these methods that I shared to you tonight. I used changing my diet. I used adding an essential oil blend. And I used positive affirmations to help me to heal from a hormone imbalance, from a thyroid issue, from an adrenal fatigue issue. So this could be you. You can do it. If I can do it, and I promise it was bleak back then, if I can do it, you can too. So if you have specific questions that we need to address just for you, I want you to reach out to me and let's do a wellness strategy session. I just added this into my type of coaching sessions, and I love, love, love doing it. It's my new favorite thing. Taking a specific health issue that you have, figuring out what's that starting line, getting real clear together on what's going on, where you are now, mapping out that goal that you have, and then creating a strategy to get there one step at a time in a manageable way for what you can handle right now. So I would love to do that with you. If what I explained here doesn't seem to perfectly match you, let's figure out your exact situation. Let's figure out the environment that you're in, the things that are causing these issues for you. Let's figure out exactly what your diagnosis looks like and how we can work with these natural methods, with these things that you can do in life to help support that healing journey. All right, and then our next workshop, to remind you guys, is going to be on the 24th, June 24th, again at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's where we're going to dive into stress and sleep and how that affects the hormones, emotions, and overall health. All right. I'm super excited about that one because I know right now many, many, many of us are not sleeping as well as we want to. And when you do sleep better, overall your health improves. Many, many, many of us feel very stressed out. And I have learned a lot about the negative effects of stress and also about managing stress and how huge that is on your healing journey. So I'm super excited to do that with you guys. That's it for this evening. We made it through in an hour. Super excited about that always. And I'm going to leave some links below in the comments for you with the link to join the email, just in case you're not on that. If you didn't get an email this evening telling you to come to this workshop, then you're not going to get the list of hormones and all of the things that they do. And I think that's really helpful for you to be intelligent on your own journey, right? If you know that you have an issue with any of the things on that list, it helps you know which hormones to start working on first. And then the Onward and Upward group, if you want to look into that for the emotional healing month that we did there. And then the Power Trios blog. Anything else that I mentioned that you remember you need more info on, please leave a question or a comment below. Sabrina, I saw your question. Progessence Plus is the serum. Progessence Plus. And if you have specific questions on that, I'm happy to answer them for you. I could also give you some specifics on people that have used it that you know, and we could maybe even ask them some more questions to see if that would be good for you. All right, guys, love you very much. Thank you so much for joining me live. Thank you, May and Sabrina, and anybody else that joined and I didn't see you. Thank you guys so much. If you watch this on the replay, make sure that you're in the Ivy and Light 101 group so that you can see when we do the next workshop, the hormones and sleep. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a beautiful evening. Have a restful evening. Pick a crystal oil and affirmation. Do that. Start that de-stress right now. And I will see you guys next time. Talk to you later.